Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today I want to talk a little bit about the attempt to criminalize an idea. There's a lot of talk of, oh, Antifa, oh, they're evil, oh, they're violent, this group does it. Here in the U.S., they're more of an idea. Yes, there are Antifa groups, there are Antifa cells, but it's not this big nationalized huge thing that the right wing keeps trying to make it out to be. It's, you know, an ideology essentially. And it comes from the very word itself, Antifa. Anti-fa. Fa meaning fascist. So it's anti-fascist. Even though the soldiers in World War II that fought against Germany and Italy and Japan, they wouldn't have called themselves Antifa, but the idea they were fighting for was anti-fascist. So in the strictest terms, yeah, you could say it goes all the way back to World War II. The pushback against the new ideology of fascism. And it goes so much beyond being against fascism. It's against racism, against xenophobia, against the vile evils in society. And so the fact that we have a president who is trying to make the idea of Antifa the enemy shows he's not on the good side. He's not one of the good guys. Far from it. Anyway, let's look at some of these articles a little bit here. From Britannica, Antifa, a broad and decentralized political movement comprising individuals and groups who believe that fascism continues to pose a unique threat to democratic and peaceful societies and must be combated through extraordinary, radical, and in some cases violent and illegal means. Don't always have to be violent. You know, in the end, we want democracy, we want peace. But when people threaten that, we stand up, we disagree with it. So if you want peace, if you want democracy, if you're against racism, if you're against fascism, congratulations. By all definitions, you are technically Antifa. The term Antifa is borrowed from the German Antifa, itself a shortened form of Anti-fascist, fascistisch, or anti-fascist, which form part of the name of a multi-party front initiated by the German Communist Party in 1932 to counter Nazism. In recent years, Antifa has been used in reference to participants in left-wing protests against police brutality and racism in the U.S. from the mid-2010s to the counter-demonstrations at the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. conservative pundits and politicians, including Donald Trump, have repeatedly called Antifa a terrorist organization, though it has no leadership or overt structure, and is more accurately characterized as a movement, an association, or merely a set of behaviors and tactics used by far left protesters. Most participants in Antifa actions subscribe to some form of left-wing political ideology and are therefore, at best, ambivalent toward liberal capitalist democracy, despite their efforts to defend the status quo against right-wing extremists. Again, you're Antifa if you don't want extreme right-wing existence, like Trump and the Republicans are pushing. It's common sense. I mean, this is not hard to understand unless you're so brainwashed or stupid that you refuse to acknowledge simple fact. Anyway, critics have questioned both the morality and efficacy of violent actions committed by Antifa, while supporters have largely suggested that the scale of Antifa's violence, as well as the centrality of violence to its mission, has been greatly overstated. Exactly. A lot of the times, it's not violent. It only gets violent when, lives are threatened. Even then, many still try to call for, nonviolent resistance. And that's the main idea of Antifa. A nonviolent resistance. A resistance in general. The idea of violence only stems from the fact that it comes as a last resort. Because common protest, common nonviolent resistance isn't working because the right wing is so extreme, as they tend to get. The roots of Antifa are generally traced to the interwar period, and specifically to resistance movements provoked by the rise of fascism in Italy and Germany. In the interwar period, I'm assuming they're meaning between World War I and World War II, and they say interwar, the fascist movements emerged throughout Europe and were usually met in each country by a corresponding anti-fascist movement. Fascism eventually succeeded, though, through politics and military conquest, like Trump and the Republicans are trying to do. You notice they send military forces to cities in the country that military force is supposed to represent. Supposed to defend instead of attacking. And seizing power over most of Western Europe before and during World War II. And partisan resistance movements fought throughout the continent with varied levels of success. Following the war and defeat of overt fascism, the memory of these partisans inspired a new generation of activists wary of the insurgents of the resurgence of fascism through the activities of right-wing parties and movements. We'll cut off there. It's got quite a long list here. Well, there's 4 paragraphs. Let's continue. Anti-fascism is a distinct political strategy rather than a generalized opposition to fascism, and is based on several key assumptions. These include the observations that fascist groups typically attempt to utilize the freedoms of liberal democracy, such as freedom of speech and association, to gain enough power to eventually deny the same freedoms to others, and those struggling against fascism should not wait until this denial is realized to militantly resist it. See, this is what's happening right now. He's trying to set rules in place, say you cannot have opposition to me by saying, oh, Antifa is illegal. They are a terrorist group. And again, like I said, it's more an ideology than an actual group. And what they're doing is exactly what's being cited in here. Using our freedoms, taking them away from everybody else. It is a clear-cut example of fascist behavior. And why there isn't more people with their hair on fire pointing this out and disappointed just baffles the fuck out of me. Antifa tactics, therefore, include deplatforming fascists, that is, using both public pressure and physical disruption to prevent fascist opponents from organizing or promoting their own beliefs. In recent times, Antifa members have also engaged in doxing or sharing of private information about opponents online. This tactic is often used to publicly shame opponents who engage in anonymous online political activity and pressure workplaces to fire alleged fascists. Yeah. I mean, while I don't necessarily agree with doxing, I understand completely. You want to make it to where it's so uncomfortable they stop supporting fascism. But honestly, we're going to have Nuremberg trials and a level of de-magification, like the Nazis had, or like Germany had de-Nazification. We need de-magification. We seriously do. Antifa has garnered much more attention for its property damage at protests. I hear that so much. Oh, we're destroying so much property! You're all endangering lives. Lives are more important than property. Its disruption of right-wing events and its targeting of specific right-wing figures, including the white nationalist Richard Spencer, a name you hadn't heard in quite a while, who was punched in the face in a videotaped assault in 2017. Yeah. You can still find videos of that online. One of my favorite is they set it to Blue Monday orgy. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's like every time the drum hits, it's a punch to Richard Spencer's face. The guy comes in, he's like, boom, 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 boom. How does it feel? You know. Anyway. Antifa came to greater prominence in American politics following Trump's presidential campaign and the 2016 election, and associated rise of the alt-right, a collection of far-right political voices promoting reactionary views on race, democracy, gender, and liberalism generally. Antifa-associated groups identifiable by their anonymous uniforms involving black clothing and face coverings protested Trump's election and disrupted or succeeded in preventing from happening right-wing events such as the speech by provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos at the University of California, Berkeley. Antifa members attacked the planned site of the speech, causing significant property damage. Antifa's activities provoked debates regarding the proper boundary between constitutionally protected speech and hate speech. Technically, even hate speech is protected. It's only certain forms, like saying, I am going to do this. And then you do that. That is clearly, yeah. You can define that as unprotected speech. I'm going to do this to this person or group, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, I hate that fucker. You can say that shit all you want. That son of a bitch, he's a fucking toadstool dick motherfucker. You can say that all you want. That's protected by the Constitution. Or is supposed to be. Given this regime's proclivities to want to say, oh, no, that kind of stuff's wrong. That's hate speech. Hate speech is not. No, hate speech is protected. It's when you legitimately go out your way to want to say, I'm going to set this people or place on fire, things that you legitimately say that you're going to do that are a crime, that can be linked to a serious crime. That's hate speech. That's not hate speech necessarily, but that's the kind of speech that you can be, that's not necessarily protected. Hate speech in general, though, yeah, using slurs as much as we detest them is still protected speech. You have the right to say them. Doesn't mean you get away scot-free without saying them. Others may push back verbally. You may be faced down by a group and forced to back down. But you're still allowed to say it. So yeah, there's definitely a difference. Hate speech for the most part is protected. Antifa also had a large presence at the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally, where anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence displayed by white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and other extremists made many among the broader left more sympathetic to Antifa's tactics. And the aftermath of the Unite the Right rally left the alt-right broadly discredited in American politics, leading to a lull in public attention toward Antifa. However, the Antifa movement returned to prominence during the 2020 protest against police brutality following the police killing of George Floyd. Members of Trump's administration and other figures across the political spectrum sought to portray subsequent looting and rioting by protesters as an organized effort by Antifa. Again, there is no organized effort. It's not an organization. There might be groups, like I said, cells, people who have literal symbols and symbolism with it. But in general, there is not a hierarchy organization called Antifa. It's an ideology. Though Antifa certainly played a role in the protests across the country, particularly in Portland, Oregon, the scale and organization of its involvement was frequently exaggerated. Exactly. Antifa has faced a broad range of criticism and has become central to right-wing conspiracy theories, including claims that Antifa secretly organized the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack of 2021 as a false flag. No, those were all dumbass, right-wing, Trump-supporting dumb fucks. Mainstream Democrats, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and President Joe Biden, have condemned Antifa violence. Many on the left have suggested that Antifa's violence and illiberalism have allowed the right to construct a false equivalency between right-wing and left-wing extremism, and leftist critics have also questioned the effectiveness of Antifa's actions in curbing the rise of fascism. But again, it's not even an actual organization, it's an ideology that you're going to fight back against fascism. This is from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Definition 1: a person or group actively opposing fascism. The groups prominently featured about 100 Christian ministers in clerical garb, angry Charlottesville residents, peace advocates, and Black Lives Matter activists and self-styled anti-fascists who call themselves Antifas. Or, after the war, Antifas varied in size and composition across the former Reich, now divided into 4 zones of occupation and developed in interaction with the local occupying power. Or an anti-fascist movement. Antifa is the backlash to the backlash, a defensive response to the growing presence of right-wing extremism. So yeah, and they got all other things here. Etymology: borrowed from the German Antifa, short for Anti-fascist, meaning anti-fascist, which was in Anti-fascist Action, the multi-party front initiated by the German Communist Party in 1932 to counter Nazism, and in other collocations. So yeah. Anyway, and then I've got a few other articles here. Wikipedia, talking about Antifa, anti-fascism. Yeah. We've got anti-fascism itself. And then post-World War II anti-fascism. But yeah, this is what I think we need. Nuremberg trials followed by demagnification of the nation. Denazification happened in Germany. And on a very similar scale, we need a demogrification. Yeah. So, while violence can be a tool, for the most part, they want peaceful protest. They want nonviolent resistance. I consider myself be anti-fascist because I don't want fascism. I don't want Nazism. I don't want this evil that Trump and the Republicans are fucking spreading through our nation. Honestly, at this point in history, I see it as the United States versus the Nazi maggots. M-A-G-A-T-S. Not normal spelling of maggots, though it's inspired by those maggots. But yeah, they love to go MAGA, M-A-G-A. Well, you're maggots, M-A-G-A-T-S. And that's what I see the real difference as being now. United States versus Nazi maggots. Versus fascist maggots. But yeah. I mean, Antifa is not this great evil. It's actually pushing back against the evil. But of course, those who think have been brainwashed or are just stupid and listen to the right-wing propaganda think they're on the side of law and order. You're not. No. You're not. Trump is our new Hitler. Stephen Miller, our new Goebbels. We are in a dark time. And honestly, we need the ideology of Antifa more than ever. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing. Ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.